Hello, thank you for coming. I'd like to start by answering the question that's on everyone's mind. Yes, this is real life. This is really happening.
Alec Baldwin really thought his phone was untouchable, like investigators would never break into it. But that confidence crumbled fast once police got their hands on his iPhone in early 2022. When they finally unlocked it, the messages inside didn't just raise eyebrows. They flipped the whole situation on its head. Those texts weren't only about the shooting. Baldwin was moving different behind the scenes. One thread showed him trying to shape the narrative before most people even knew what actually went down, almost like he wanted to guide the conversation before anyone else could open their mouth. The messages painted him as someone who seemed way more informed than what he admitted publicly. And trust me, what he was really doing will leave anyone stunned. Alec Baldwin, born Alexander Ray Baldwin III on April 3, 1958, in Amityville, New York, didn't come from Hollywood glamour or millionaire vibes. He grew up as the second of 6 kids in a tight working-class family that lived off solid Irish Catholic traditions, simple living, and strict routines that shaped his early mindset. His pops was a history teacher and football coach at Massapequa High School, making about $12,000 a year back in the 1960s, which would be close to $100,000 today. But even with that adjustment, the family kept things humble. They ate dinner together every night, shared the same handful of books on their small shelves, and followed routines that gave Alec this deep understanding of discipline, structure, and how the world was supposed to work. All those early habits stuck with him as he grew. But nobody knew those same habits would one day collide with a situation that the world still can't stop talking about. Alec's mother, Carol, was all about discipline and keeping the family tight, so she had him writing letters every single week to older relatives just to keep those bonds alive. It wasn't negotiable. She believed connection came from effort, and she made sure Alec understood that from day one. Those habits stayed glued to him as he grew up in Nassau Shores, a middle-class neighborhood packed with kids running around outside while their parents hustled double shifts to keep life moving. Nothing about their lifestyle was flashy, and it definitely didn't feel glamorous. But those tight rules and that steady routine drilled a sense of duty into Alec that he carried everywhere he went. School wasn't exactly his strong zone either, especially math and history, where he was barely holding on by a thread. But everything flipped when he stepped into the Massapequa High Auditorium and discovered theater, the one place where rules didn't suffocate him and expectations didn't box him in. At just 15, he landed a lead role in The Music Man, and something inside him shifted big time. He started staying after school, practicing lines while the empty auditorium echoed around him, like it was cheering him on. For the first time, he didn't feel like the kid struggling through numbers or the teen trying to fit into a strict household. Acting came to him naturally, like it had been sitting inside him the whole time, just waiting to break out. During the summers, he picked up work at small drama camps, teaching younger kids, and pulling in about $150 a week, enough for movies, burgers, and a little taste of independence. Slowly, the stage became the one place where he felt fully himself, the one world where he didn't have to force anything or pretend. And around that same time, when he was about 14, a neighborhood brawl sparked some serious local gossip, adding a whole new layer to the growing legend of Alec Baldwin. The whole fight broke out because some older boys were messing with his siblings, and Alec jumped in without even stopping to think. The punches didn't fly for long, but they made enough noise for half the block to step outside and watch. When the police rolled up, Alec walked away with a small disorderly conduct citation. Nothing major, but definitely memorable, and folks in the neighborhood didn't forget it. Friends later said he always had this instinct to step into chaos if he felt someone was being treated wrong, like he couldn't sit back and watch unfairness play out. Years later, tabloids tried connecting the dots, dragging that moment into his adult controversies, and calling it the first spark of the temper they claimed followed him all the way to Hollywood. But for Alec, it was nothing dramatic, just another moment where he thought he was standing up for his people, plain and simple. When Alec wrapped up high school, he was convinced his life was heading down a steady, predictable lane. In 1976, he enrolled at George Washington University, majoring in political science because he planned on becoming a lawyer. A clean, respectable career path that made sense on paper. But during his freshman year, something unexpected pulled at him again. Theater. He wandered into campus performances, almost by accident. But once he stepped in, the stage pulled him right back like it never wanted to let him go. By 1980, the pull was so strong that he packed up and transferred to NYU's Tisch School of the Arts to study drama full-time, diving into a world he once thought he'd left behind. The shift wasn't subtle. It was like fate tapping him on the shoulder and saying, "This is where you actually belong." Alec's time at NYU was anything but a clean, straight path. It zigzagged all over the place. He worked random jobs, stepped away from classes whenever money got tight, and kept grinding even when it didn't look pretty. He didn't actually finish that degree until 1994, a wild 14 years after he first walked into a Tisch classroom. Once he finally paid off that old tuition bill, the school handed him his BFA, long after he was already out in the world working as an actor, building a name for himself. His journey wasn't smooth, but it taught him to chase whatever felt real, even when the road looked messy or unpredictable. New York forced him to grow fast, adapt quick, and move with purpose. One of his first jobs wasn't on stage. He was a busboy at Studio 54, right in the middle of that loud, wild nightlife scene. For 2 months straight, he weaved through crowds filled with flashing lights, nonstop music, and iconic faces like Andy Warhol, Mick Jagger, and Bianca Jagger just hanging around like it was nothing. The job itself wasn't glamorous. He wasn't performing. He wasn't center stage. But it cracked open a whole new world for him, a place where fame, performance, and personality all blended together in one chaotic mix. At the same time, Alec was sharpening his craft at the Lee Strasberg Institute, where method acting demanded raw honesty and laser focus. He threw himself into rehearsals with full force, sometimes hitting the point where he clashed with teachers because he pushed himself harder than most of the students around him. That intensity became part of his identity. He wasn't there to coast. He was there to transform, and everyone in the room felt it. Those two worlds, the gritty hustle at Studio 54 and the deep emotional grind at Strasberg, mixed into a wild crash course that shaped Alec long before he ever stood in front of a serious audience. By 1980, he finally booked his first paid acting gig, a Merrill Lynch commercial. He was 22, and that national ad put just enough money in his pocket to keep him steady while he tried to carve out a real name for himself. Not long after, he stepped into an off-Broadway role in A Life in the Theater, pulling in about $200 a week, and critics started noticing the fire he brought on stage. It wasn't fame, not even close, but it cracked open the door and placed him right on the New York theater radar at a time when the city was swarming with hungry actors chasing the same dream. But around the same time, another part of Alec's reputation started forming. People began saying he had a sharp temper, something that showed up even at NYU. Folks on campus claimed he would storm out of rehearsals when feedback hit too hard, and that pattern didn't fully disappear as he stepped into his professional life. Years later, big incidents would spotlight that side of him again, like the tense 2007 voicemail situation involving his family, the 2011 plane removal after he wouldn't stop playing a phone game, or the 2019 guilty plea connected to a heated parking dispute. Each moment added another layer to the public picture people were building of him, a talented actor with passion that sometimes spilled over, creating headlines he never planned for. All those moments built this picture of Alec as someone intense, driven, and sometimes explosive, a person who moved with passion even when it put him in the spotlight for the wrong reasons. His first big TV break came on the NBC soap, The Doctors, where he played Billy Aldrich from 1980 to 1982. He pulled in about $500 per episode, which finally let him get his own spot in Hell's Kitchen, a rough but buzzing neighborhood packed with actors, artists, and dreamers grinding for their shot. Working on that show taught him how to handle long shooting days, memorize scripts on the fly, and keep up with the fast pace of television. It wasn't flashy or luxurious, but it was steady work that forced him to level up and build real discipline. His jump into Broadway came in 1985 when he performed in Arthur Miller's The American Clock, a major moment that opened the door to deeper, more serious acting opportunities. That led him to the 1986 TV miniseries Dress Gray, where he acted alongside Hal Holbrook, a huge deal for any rising actor back then. The miniseries pulled in around 15 million viewers across the United States, turning Baldwin into a recognizable face practically overnight. It was the first time he felt the shift happening, the move from just working actor to legit rising star, and that rise only kept going. In 1988, he landed the role of Adam Maitland in Beetlejuice, the wild supernatural comedy that pushed him into a whole new lane and proved he could deliver humor just as strong as drama. The movie hit big, and suddenly Alec wasn't just another actor in the mix. He was someone Hollywood started paying close attention to. Beetlejuice pulled in more than $80 million worldwide, and Baldwin reportedly walked away with about $1 million, a massive jump for him at that point in his career. Working with Tim Burton and Michael Keaton opened up his range in a whole new way and put him in front of audiences all over the world. But behind all that success, rehearsals weren't smooth at all. Baldwin and Burton clashed hard over script changes, and the vibe got tense fast. There was even a moment where Baldwin seriously thought about walking away from the whole thing. The arguments got loud enough that the studio started whispering about replacing him. But in the end, they kept him because they knew exactly how valuable he was once that camera started rolling. The film went on to become a full-blown cult classic, and Baldwin's energy helped cement its legacy big time. Then, in 1989, he took another huge step by becoming Jack Ryan in The Hunt for Red October. That submarine thriller blew up, earning more than $200 million worldwide and becoming the highest-grossing film of 1990. Baldwin's performance got praised for being sharp, controlled, and quietly powerful, proving to audiences that he could carry a high-pressure role without breaking a sweat. He became the very first actor to bring Jack Ryan to the screen in a way that followed Tom Clancy's original character closely, and that success helped launch one of Hollywood's biggest political thriller franchises. By 1990, Baldwin was stepping deeper into intense roles, including The Getaway, where he played Doc McCoy, a dangerous, unpredictable character, opposite Kim Basinger. That role pushed him into an even darker lane on screen, showing that he could switch from calm intelligence to edgy chaos without missing a beat. By this point, Alec's contracts were hitting around $3 million per film, putting him among the most in-demand stars of that whole era. His mix of action, drama, and that sharp screen presence kept pushing him deeper into the spotlight, and the momentum carried him straight into a decade where he became a real force in Hollywood. Alec Baldwin's rise in the 90s kicked off with a fire nobody on that Brooklyn set was ready for. In October 1992, he stepped into that cold warehouse to shoot his 15-minute Glengarry Glen Ross monologue. And he didn't just play Blake, he unleashed him. The moment he opened his mouth, he tore through Mamet's lines with so much intensity that even Al Pacino said the room felt like it was shaking. The whole scene was shot in just a few days, but it carried a punch that stuck with everyone who saw it. The film's budget sat at about $12.5 million, and it only pulled in around $10.7 million in the US, which made it look like a flop on paper. But that didn't stop people from watching it over and over again. Something about that raw, sharp, venom-soaked look into the sales world kept pulling viewers back. Baldwin even picked up a New York Film Critics Circle nomination for that performance. And the craziest part? Business schools still show that scene today, proving that even a role written for one explosive moment can echo through decades and keep its impact alive. That same blazing intensity followed Alec straight into July 1994, when he stepped into the mask of Lamont Cranston in The Shadow. The studio poured around $25 million into the production, building wild practical invisibility effects with the same crew that had worked on the Batman films. They were aiming to launch a brand new franchise built on that classic pulp hero energy. But things didn't go the way they expected. The movie pulled in about $32 million in the US and $48 million worldwide, far below what they were hoping for. A lot of viewers just didn't connect with how dark the film felt, and critics said the style was so heavy that it smothered the storyline. But over time, fans circled back to it, pointing out Baldwin's full-on commitment and the bold practical effects that hit way harder than most mid-90s visuals. Just a few years earlier, in 1991, Baldwin had walked onto the set of The Marrying Man thinking he was stepping into a simple romantic comedy. But what happened next was anything but simple. The moment he and Kim Basinger started catching real feelings for each other, the whole production got thrown into a storm of intensity. Their chemistry was strong, but so were the arguments, and the tension kept slowing things down. Phones got broken, chairs went flying, and demands kept stacking up behind the scenes. One producer even claimed he would rather be homeless than work with them again, showing just how chaotic the set had become. And the wild part? The tabloids were already running with the story, long before the movie even hit theaters, turning the off-screen drama into a bigger headline than the film itself. By 1993, Alec and Kim Basinger went all in and got married, and in 1995, their daughter, Ireland Baldwin, was born. The movie they met on pulled in only about $12 million, but the chaos behind it turned into straight Hollywood legend. And that fiery temper people kept talking about, it didn't stay on set. It spilled into real life too. In 1995, Alec ended up in handcuffs after getting into a heated argument with a taxi driver in New York City. Witnesses claimed he shoved the driver, which led to a misdemeanor charge and community service, and the tabloids had a field day with it, calling it another chapter of Baldwin rage. Then, years later, in 2013, he got arrested again, this time for disorderly conduct after riding his bike the wrong way down Fifth Avenue and refusing to show ID. Each incident added another layer to the public story people thought they already knew, turning his name into a regular punchline on talk shows and late-night jokes. But even with all the chaos, he kept working. By 1999, he quietly slid into Notting Hill for a quick cameo as Jeff, the snobbish, full-of-himself boyfriend. And even though the role was tiny, he made it hit with that perfect blend of charm and arrogance. The movie exploded, earning about $363 million worldwide and becoming the highest-grossing British film ever at the time. That same year, he lent his voice to the re-release of Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, and by the end of the decade, he was bringing in around $5 million a year from voice gigs and acting fees. This mix of comedy, drama, cameos, and narration kept him alive in an industry that was shifting fast, proving he could adapt and stay relevant no matter how wild the headlines got. And if you want more breakdowns packed with drama, secrets, and the real stories behind the stars, make sure you hit that subscribe button on Juicy Reel. You don't want to miss what's coming next.